The little girl shouted stop. At the raging, stormy sky. Instantly, the sky cleared completely, leaving her old man's jaw on the floor. It turns out, in her past life, this little girl was the demon queen who destroyed the world. And I, her father, had become a demon hunter. All because of my ex-girlfriend, who I'd broken up with 6 years prior. She showed up with a 5-year-old girl, claiming the child was mine. I was furious. I refused to be made a fool of and threw them out. This led to my ex being tricked by a corrupt guild, signing an unfair contract, and working herself to death. In the end, I did adopt my daughter, but I was so consumed by guilt that I could never bring myself to face her. I chose to numb myself with work, leaving my 5-year-old daughter home alone all day. She was completely neglected, until the Demon Hunter organization showed up. They forcibly took her to the Hunter's Tower. The next time I saw her, she had become the final boss, and so, to atone for the pain I had caused her, I chose to stand against humanity for her sake, but my strength was so insignificant. I was killed in a single blow. Seeing this, my daughter unleashed her ultimate power. She annihilated 2 billion people across the globe. And I, filled with regret, returned to the very beginning. My exclusive mission had begun. Change the future. Prevent Shui's 5 tragic fates. Reborn, I shot up in bed. I saw my ex-girlfriend, just like in my past life, leading our 5-year-old daughter by the hand. I immediately knelt down, stroked her head, and happily invited them to live with me. Seeing how adorable my daughter was, I couldn't help but reach out with these guilty hands of mine. Will you let me serve you, my little princess? She happily agreed, so I played with her for a long, long time. Just then, my ex-girlfriend, Eun-hai, seemed to have something on her mind and asked if we could talk. In the end, she made the same decision as in my past life. She wanted to join a guild and become a hunter to earn money. I thought about how joining a guild in my past life was the beginning of her nightmare, and a chill ran down my spine. But could I stop her now? In this world, the dimensional barrier shattered 25 years ago. Monsters broke through and poured out, bringing humanity to the brink of extinction. But the magical energy flowing from the dimensional rifts was also absorbed by some humans. This gave them special abilities, allowing them to kill monsters that conventional weapons couldn't. They were called hunters. I knew I couldn't change her mind. The only thing I could do was secretly remind her to read the contract carefully. With that, I took 5-year-old Shaer out. As we passed by an ice cream stand, Shaer stared at it with longing eyes. So, I said to the vendor, Mom is an alien, cone, please. But for some reason, Shaer broke out in a cold sweat. I quickly asked her what was wrong. Then, she timidly asked the lady, Mom is an alien. An octopus monster? Does that mean, I'm an alien too? The vendor couldn't help but laugh, and I was also stunned by her train of thought. In the end, the vendor thought she was so cute that she gave her a lot extra. She also explained that it was just a name. Food. While eating her ice cream, Shaer finally called me Dad. I felt an incredible sense of contentment. But on the way home, a buzzing sound suddenly erupted from the loudspeakers. This was the sign of a dimensional rift forming. Normally, there's always a warning before a rift appears. The probability of one appearing without any warning is extremely low. Could it be the butterfly effect? So, I scooped up Shaer and ran for it. Damn it, model. Am I too late? Suddenly, a creature that looked like a bull, but wasn't quite, appeared on the street, panting heavily and seeing stars. Pedestrians around us fled in panic. I did too, but my current body is nothing compared to what it was before my rebirth. Right now, I'm just an ordinary person, but that monster seemed to be focused specifically on me. It chased right after me, so I had no choice but to have Soul hide for a moment. In a crevice in the hallway. After I got her safely hidden. As expected, the monster knew who I was. It charged at me without hesitation. But I didn't have any weapons. Luckily, at the last possible second, I grabbed a broom. Then, with a leap backward, I got behind it. Even though it was just a broom, I had to try. I just need to hold on for 5 minutes until rescue arrives. I watched as the monster charged at me again. I remembered something from my past life. This beast is a Cretan bull. Its weak point is its eyes. It has to be a one-hit shot. Then, I drew on the faint wisps of magic from a dimensional rift and infused them into the broomstick. I threw it with all my might at the Cretan bull, and it landed right in the eye of the charging beast. The bull, having been hit, let out a painful roar and went into a frenzy. But just as its hoof was about to crush me, it suddenly froze solid. Ice magic. But before I had time to think, the bull went berserk again, destroying everything in sight. The building is collapsing. This is bad. Shaer is still in the middle of the building. So, just as the building was about to fall, I rushed to her side to brace the wall for her. Shaer, are you hurt? She shook her head miserably. I was so relieved to see she was okay. Then, I couldn't hold on any longer and collapsed. As I was fading out, I saw that familiar dragon pattern. And I felt at ease. Then I passed out completely. When I came to, I was in a hospital bed, listening to my daughter say that Daddy got hurt because of me. Eun-hai immediately burst into tears. But I panicked. I was so scared I hurriedly stood up to show I was alright. In the end, it all ended with me getting a slap across the face. That evening, I sat with Eunhye in the hospital lounge, talking about the strange things that happened today. I have a feeling someone used magic to freeze the bull's hoof. I suspect Shaer cast the spell. When Eunhye heard this, her face went pale. She tried to act calm and said, "This whole magic thing has only just appeared. Shaer is just a child, how could she possibly? I might believe you if you could look me in the eye and say that." Finally, Eunhye reluctantly told me the truth. It turns out the house she used to live in was destroyed because Shaer lost control of her emotions. She was afraid that if the truth got out, Shaer would be taken away for research. That's why I came to you for help. After hearing everything, I comforted her. "Don't worry, I won't tell anyone. I promise I'll protect you both. Haven't you ever suspected that Soul isn't your daughter?" I immediately cut her off with a sharp voice. "She is my daughter. Even if she weren't, you can't say that in front of her. You'll break her heart." After hearing that, Eunhye started to laugh. Seeing her bright smile, my heart suddenly skipped a beat. No. In my mind, I'm an old man in his 40s. I can't go robbing the cradle. Besides, the way I am now, I don't deserve it. Then, I changed the subject and asked her about what happened at the guild today. "So, how did it go?" she asked resentfully. "It's a good thing you warned me. That contract was full of loopholes. It was just one trap after another. I didn't sign it in the end." I immediately comforted her. "It's okay. I'm here. I'll help you become a hunter. I'll teach you the very best techniques." Eunhye asked nervously. "Yes, there's a small workshop inside. The department stores are too expensive. This place is much more affordable," I said, pushing the door open for us to go in. A dazzling array of weapons filled the entire small workshop, almost too much to take in at once. Just then, a sturdy-looking old man came out from the back room and asked, "Is there anything you need?" In my past life, this old man was the world's top blacksmith, Gangchul. I immediately showed my respect. "Hello, I'm Lee Seo-jun, a hunter in training." Seeing this, Eunhye followed my lead and said, "Hello, I'm Eunhye, a hunter in training." Then, Shaer copied us and chimed in, "Hello, I'm their daughter, Shaer." This made the old man burst out laughing. Then, I explained why we had come. I needed a well-balanced spear, while Eunhye hadn't yet decided what she wanted. She wanted to look around first. Just as Eunhye was struggling to choose, I recommended a bow to her. It was obvious that Eunhye loved it the moment she saw it. "I'll take it," she decided. Then, after we received the bill, Eunhye gasped, "This is way too expensive." "Don't worry, I still have some savings. Besides, I wasn't kidding when I said I'd help you become a hunter." Eunhye, however, insisted over and over that she would pay me back as soon as she started earning money. Only then did she finally accept it. After hearing our conversation, Shaer spoke up maturely, "Is this very expensive? Then I'll eat fewer snacks from now on." Her comment made us both a little awkward. In the end, the owner was very generous and gave us a discount on the spot. He said he did it because our little girl was so cute that he just couldn't help himself. "I'll only charge you for the materials." It was such a wonderful surprise. After leaving the workshop, we all had new weapons that we loved. Next, let's prepare for the dungeon. First, we had to train Eunhye's archery skills. In just a few weeks, Eunhye could already channel her mana to shoot an arrow clean through a tree trunk. Her progress was incredibly fast. Around noon, I brought Shaer with me, carrying lunch to visit her. We sat in a clearing, eating our lunch and chatting. For the past few weeks, I had been teaching her the fundamentals and combat techniques to prepare her for the dungeon. The reason I had her choose a bow was because in my past life, after Eunhye joined a guild, they always insisted she use a sword. After her sword accidentally broke during one battle, she picked up the bow of a fallen comrade. It was only then that her true potential was unleashed. Just then, I asked Eunhye, "How is your mana sensing training going?" "Not very well. I've only succeeded once." But Shaer, who was in her lap, said happily, "Mommy, I can feel the mana. Let me teach you." She then quickly gathered her mana. "Look, it's easy, see?" I quickly feigned excitement and praised her. "Soul is really amazing, but this is very dangerous, you know. Dispel the magic." "Got it." Then, with a gentle wave of her hand, she dispersed the magic she had gathered into the sky. It transformed into twinkling stars. "It looks like we'll have to be more careful from now on. We can't take Soul to a dangerous place like a dungeon. However, I have the perfect person in mind to look after Soul." I thought that when my father saw how adorable Soul was, he'd immediately agree to take her in. I never expected him to still have that same icy expression. It scared Soul so much that she hid behind me and wouldn't come out. After hearing that Soul was my and Eunhye's daughter, his expression softened a bit. It's because I had brought Eunhye to meet him before. What followed was a classic scene of a grandparent's doting affection. The moment the stern old man touched the little girl's cheek, he was instantly captivated. So soft. This delicate touch is just unforgettable. He wouldn't even let me say another word, just like a fierce dragon guarding its treasure. He quickly hurried me to leave, so I had no choice but to go with Unhai. I went to the mall to pick up a watch strap I ordered, which had a magic lamp embedded in it. Sol had actually found this magic lamp in a trash pile back at the workshop. The owner had generously given the magic lamp to Sol. In turn, Sol gave the lamp to me, apparently because I was staring at it with such intensity, and the reason I was so intense was because the magic lamp is a bead that glows when it senses magic, an excellent tool for finding treasure in dungeons. I felt a little bad about taking something from a child, so I offered to buy Sol a few outfits as a return gift. Just then, a commotion erupted downstairs. It was the celebrity hunter, Chen Shuxuan. But I had a bad feeling about him. In my past life, he was the guild master who saddled Unhai with a mountain of debt. Suddenly, the entire building began to shake. Was it an earthquake? No, I knew it wasn't. This was the exact reason I had chosen this particular mall. A huge hole split open in the center of the mall, and then a system voice announced. Dungeon has spawned. A special mission has been initiated. Countless swarming magic beasts crawled out from the hole. Mission: conquer the collapsed department store. Seeing this, countless ordinary people tried to flee outside, but with the dungeon's appearance, a barrier had formed that couldn't be broken. All they could do was cry out in despair. In my haste, I jumped directly from the second floor, killing a few magic beasts. I saved a man. Quick, head for the exit. The Hunters Guild is over there. Then I looked up at Unhai and said, let's meet up with the Hunters Guild at the entrance, and then we'll take care of these monsters. Got it. At the same time, Chen Shuxuan was also clearing out monsters. Just then, an ordinary man ran to him for help, but he was ruthlessly shoved aside. Unhai and I arrived just in time to see it happen. I gritted my teeth in anger. Just as that man was about to be devoured by a magic beast, a red-haired beauty effortlessly killed the beast with a single slash, saving the man. Our eyes met. What was she doing here at a time like this? Go He Yian, the hunter who, in my past life, survived until the end of the world. After being stunned for a moment, I immediately snapped out of it. I quickly shouted, Hunters, form a circle around the civilians. Form a defensive line, protect the civilians. Facing the battle calmly, the hunters then began their own brutal fights. Several dozen minutes later, I slowly pulled my spear out of a magic beast. That should be the last one, right? Unhai was so exhausted she collapsed right onto the ground. Still, for her very first battle, she performed exceptionally well. Just then, Chen Shuxuan recognized Unhai. She was the mana user who was supposed to sign with his guild. But she had somehow gotten wind of it, left the contract, and bolted, the big catch that got away. So he approached with false concern, saying, you've worked hard. Having you with us made the fight much easier. Just as Unhai was about to respond, I stepped in front of her. Hello, I'm Li Xiao Jun. I'm Chen Shuxuan. As they shook hands, both men channeled mana into their grip. Neither was willing to yield. Just then, a mother came running over in tears, clutching a child and begging us to save him. The child had been poisoned by a magic beast's toxin and needed immediate attention. He was in mortal danger without quick treatment, but the exit would only open once we cleared the dungeon. If the hunters go deal with the boss. Before I could finish my sentence, Chen Shuxuan cut me off with an, I disagree. I quickly tried to explain. There were enough of us here. This child won't last for the 24 hours it'll take for the gate to reopen. But he just replied coldly. You look like a volunteer, don't you? Therefore, your opinion means nothing to me. Unhai and I were so furious we wanted to hit him, but there was nothing we could do. Just then, a clear voice called out, I agree. I'll raid the dungeon with you too. My name is Go He Yian. Go He Yian, are you in a hurry to get yourself killed? I thought you were different from these rookies. Chen Shuxuan, if I were as strong as you, I'd have given up on being a hunter a long time ago. He was so enraged that veins bulged on his forehead, practically steaming. In the end, only the three of us remained, preparing to attack the dungeon beneath the collapsed department store. Together, we leapt down into the dungeon. E02. Unhai asked me curiously, what's that glittering stuff? It's so magical. That's luminous moss. It's a plant that only grows in dark places. It's a food source for some of the monsters. Meanwhile, Go He Yian was secretly analyzing me. That guy, Li Xiao Jun, has incredible combat skills. His judgment and command are also spot on. He's nothing like an ordinary volunteer. So she decided to feign weakness and push for me to be the team leader. I saw right through her plan to test me and gauge my strength. I played along and accepted, while also subtly hinting that this is my first time leading. I don't have much experience. Let's head out. Let me know if I do anything wrong. We finally reached the deepest part of the dungeon. Before our eyes was a single glob of slime. The three of us were stunned for a moment. How could the boss possibly be a beginner's training monster? Go He Yian couldn't hold back and was the first to leap down. She landed perfectly. Unhai, however, lagged behind, lowering herself with a rope. But she accidentally slipped and fell to the ground with a thud. On the other side of the room, the slime heard the sound. It slowly began to grow and squirm. A second ago, Go Hee-yeon was telling her it was okay. But in the next instant, the color drained from her face, as if she had just seen the impossible. First, the skull. Then, the torso. The gooey slime instantly transformed into a slime skull warrior. After its monstrous transformation, the skull slime immediately lunged at us. I immediately pulled Eun-hye and Hee-yeon behind some cover. Looks like the skull slime is more attracted to vibrations than to what it sees. According to our plan, slimes are afraid of fire. Hee-yeon and I were supposed to shatter its outer shell first, while Eun-hye provided cover and set it on fire from behind. But now, all three of us were trapped. Just then, Hee-yeon started stretching. I'll go and draw its attention. Only I can use my mana to make the ground vibrate. As she spoke, she stomped her foot hard, sending a tremor through the earth. The skull slime was instantly drawn to her. Besides, she added, I'm especially good at wars of attrition. She then ran to an open area and assumed a sword-drawing stance. I recognized that stance from my past life. The skill is called Single-Stroke Severance. As the skull slime closed in on her, she gathered her energy and drew her blade in a single, fluid motion. Swish. She unleashed a flurry of slashes at the skull slime. If this were the old Go Hee-yeon, it would have been a piece of cake. But right now, she just didn't have the strength. Not as a hunter, and not as a swordswoman. On top of that, the slime's acid is corrosive. Coupled with its rapid regeneration, it was nearly impossible for her to handle alone. Just as she thought it was all over, I jumped in front of her, holding a bottle of oil. I hurled it at the skull slime, drenching it completely. I turned to Go Hee-yeon and said, we have to shatter its outer shell first. We can only kill it by exposing its core. At that moment, the skull slime was clearly. But that meant we couldn't get close enough to set it on fire. Suddenly, a sharp arrow shot right past my weapon, kicking up sparks as it grazed past Go Hee-yeon's face and buried itself deep in the skull slime behind her. It erupted in flames. It was a magic arrow from Eun-hye, who was further back. We watched as the skull slime burned and melted away, until finally, its core was exposed. This is it. We have to destroy it before it regenerates. Seeing us charge forward, Eun-hye started firing to give us cover. The arrows striking its skull drew most of its attention, while Go Hee-yeon and I charged with all our might, one after the other. As I got close, I leapt high into the air, channeling mana into my spear. I aimed directly for the core and thrust with all my strength. A brilliant flash of light exploded outwards. Now that I've been reborn, I swear I'll prevent every one of her misfortunes. I stared at the door, my face filled with worry. Just then, there was a sound. The dungeon gate opened. Everyone scrambled for the exit. Through the crowd, an old father instantly spotted his son and his future daughter-in-law. Little Shui also flew like a bird into her parents' arms. When Go Hee-yeon got a clear look at little Shui's face, her girlish heart instantly melted. It startled me so much that I quickly pulled Chair into a tight hug, terrified she was about to be snatched away. Brother, Mom. At first, the news of the boys' rescue seemed too good to be true, but it was all thanks to them. We were all so relieved to see it. But that night, I fell back into my dream of that cold city. Dilapidated buildings, empty streets. I was all alone, shivering uncontrollably from the cold. Then, on a street corner, I met the Chair from my past life. Her eyes filled with hatred as she asked me why I'd done it. My miserable life was all your fault. I hate you, Lee Seo-jun. She then unleashed her ice magic, forming an icicle and lunging at me with it. I shot awake, covered in a cold sweat. Just then, I heard Shui's soft, sweet voice call out, Daddy, the sun's going to toast your bottom. If you don't get up, Cher isn't going to play with you anymore. My heart just melted, and I looked at the balance on my phone, and my heart sank a little. I'm almost broke. It looks like I need to take the hunter exam as soon as possible to earn some income. But life is so blissful right now. A soft bed, plus a soft little Cher. It's practically heaven, but in the next second, my heaven was gone. Suddenly, with a ding-dong, a fund transfer notification from the Hunter Bank arrived. 1 million credited to the account. Eun-hye received the same message. Then, the phone began to ring. Eun-hye answered it. A clear voice came from the other end. Sis, it's me, Shi-yeon. Did you get the money? Since you two aren't official hunters, I commissioned some scavengers to handle the post-battle equipment and materials. I sold it and transferred the payment to you. If you were hunters, you'd definitely be earning much more. By the way, you two will be taking this month's hunter qualification exam, right? Of course. The hunter exam is meant to assess the strength of aspiring candidates. You have to pass a written test and a skills test. After the final exam, you receive your license. Then you have to use methods like scavenging to acquire the necessary materials to be a hunter. Only then are you recognized as an official hunter. Although, I don't know why this world's Go Hee-yeon is paying so much attention to us. Is she trying to recruit us into her guild? Her guild is certainly appealing, but Eun-hye and I decided to take little Cher to buy clothes first. Then, we asked Go Hee-yeon to help look after the newly dressed Cher for a while. After that, the two of us went to take the exam together. thinking of how I had failed countless times in my past life. Before finally getting my license, I was filled with confidence for this exam. In the end, Eun-hye and I both passed the written test with ease. Next up was the skills test. There's a monster in each exam room. As long as you don't get seriously injured within the time limit and manage to capture it, you pass. Now, candidate number 1, please prepare. Score. Fail. Eliminated. Right after, many more candidates were eliminated. At the same time, in the observation room upstairs where they were scouting for promising new talent, the guild recruiters were looking incredibly bored, sighing one after another. Suddenly, the door was pushed open. Jian Xing of the Goryeo Sword Pavilion walked in. He was one of the hunters who saved humanity when the dimensional rifts first appeared. He's also the guild master of the world-famous Goryeo Sword Pavilion. His power and reputation are second to none. His sudden appearance made the recruiters from the other guilds instantly feel dejected. With him here, how could anyone else hope to recruit someone? Grandpa, I'm here. Go Hee-Yeon happily greeted her grandfather, with Shaer right beside her. As their eyes met, Shaer spoke first. Grandpa, are you Santa Claus? This sent everyone in the room into fits of laughter. Jian Xing replied gently, I'm not Santa Claus. My name is Jian Xing. My name is Shaer. Then, the three of them stood together in the observation room watching. Just then, Shui's eyes suddenly lit up. It's Mommy. Eun-hye passed with an outstanding time of 16 seconds. After she came out, it was my turn to go up. I was facing a Gang Chol monster several times my size. I gripped my spear tightly and got into position. When it threw a punch at me, I slid right behind it. I aimed for a gap in its armor, stabbed my spear in, and then pried it open with all my might. Then I kicked it hard to the ground and plunged my hand directly into its internal machinery. I brutally ripped out its core, leaving the examiners upstairs completely dumbfounded. I've never seen such a violent volunteer. The moment the machine behind me lost its core, it shattered to pieces. I walked confidently out of the exam room, having passed the test in 14 seconds. I happily gave Eun-hye a high five. Just then, Jian Xing from upstairs said, So this is why you called me here, huh? To be able to calmly grasp your opponent's weakness and take them down in one hit. He's a real talent. Anyway, to celebrate us passing the assessment, Go Hee-Yeon invited us all out to eat. And while I was grateful for her gesture of goodwill, I couldn't help but feel she was scheming something. Oh well, maybe I'm just being too paranoid. Just then, Go Hee-Yeon spoke up. Big brother, big sister, can I ask where your weapons are made? My hand froze mid-bite. If I told her, she would definitely have her grandfather meet with the master craftsman, Gang Chol. But the two of them weren't supposed to meet until much later. Could this be the butterfly effect? In the end, when I got home, I sent her the address via text message anyway. The final assessment on the second day involved randomly selecting 3 examinees to form a team to conquer a special dungeon for novices. The test score would depend on our level of cooperation and contribution to the conquest. Only those who received the final reward would pass. So, I was grouped with examinee Shu Wansho and examinee Zhang Dahu. We had a time limit of 3 hours. We could only carry one type of weapon, and we now have 30 minutes for discussion. First, we introduced our classes and special skills to each other. As for this Shu Wansho, anyone with eyes could see he was a mage. I had no memory of him from my past life. But this Zhang Dahu, on the other hand, in my past life, it was often said that he was different from those hunters who used swords or bows. He won with his fists and was known as the Fist King. Right now, the most important thing was deciding who was fit to be the team's leader. But looking at the two of them, one seemed completely indifferent, while the other seemed to have high hopes for me. After settling on our roles, we stepped into the novice dungeon together. You have entered the dungeon to be conquered. The general mission will now begin. My plan was for Zhang Dahu to take the lead, the ranged user Shu Wansho to cover our rear, and for me to be in the middle, handling crowd control and giving orders. But just as we reached the entrance, Shu Wansho started to back out. He wanted us to go in first and scout the path for him. He'd only go in once it was safe. Hearing him say that, I couldn't even be bothered to respond. I just walked straight in without a second glance. Zhang Dahu followed me in. Only Shu Wansho was left cowering timidly at the entrance. Seeing that we were really going to leave him behind, he finally came in, muttering curses under his breath. I spun around with a flying kick, stopping it just barely 2.5 meters away from him. It scared him so much he broke out in a cold sweat. Just then, Zhang Dahu saw that we were about to fight and rushed over to break us up. Then, we headed deeper into the instance together. That's when I noticed that the glowing moss, which should have been the stone ant's favorite food, was completely untouched. Could this be a trick in the exam? When we got deeper, we found a giant pit in the middle of the path. I leaned over to investigate. There was never a pit like this when I conquered the ant nest before. Just then, Shu Wansho lost his footing and fell into the deep pit. Luckily, he managed to grab onto my long spear in time. But a stone ant suddenly appeared behind him, and dragged him down into the pit. I immediately yelled to Zhang Dahu. Quick, we have to rescue him. Right. Then, ignoring the examiner's shouts of wait, stop, I jumped straight into the pit. I knew that area was definitely not part of the exam. You have entered a hidden dungeon. A special mission will now begin. Hidden dungeon unlocked. Proceed to clear the Ant Rider cave. We reached the bottom of the cave, which was covered everywhere in luminous moss. So it's a hidden dungeon. I knew something was off about the examiner's expression earlier. This must be an unexpected situation. Just then, Shu Wanshou's faint cries for help drifted over. Luckily, the Ant Riders have a habit of storing food. But once someone enters a hidden dungeon, the entrance is sealed off, so it'll be very difficult for the examiner to find us now. But I had my reasons for entering the instance without a second thought. The first hunter to conquer a dungeon receives a huge reward. If they're lucky, they can even get an elixir. It can boost a hunter's stats, which is why every hunter desperately wants one. Although trying to clear an unknown dungeon is like a moth flying into a flame. With a regressor like me and a future boxing king, this gamble isn't so simple. So, I immediately told brother Zhang Dahu that we were the only ones who could save him now. Besides, saving people from terrible situations is what we hunters are supposed to do. Zhang Dahu was immediately impressed by my noble character. Alright, Song, let's start conquering this hidden dungeon now. Just then, the Ant Riders appeared. Zhang Dahu smashed one to pieces with a single punch. After a moment, Zhang Dahu noticed something else. Seo Jun, why are the ant corpses moving? It's probably a mutation caused by the ghost ants, which are undead creatures the Ant Riders must have eaten. Suddenly, an Ant Rider ambushed Zhang Dahu from behind. I immediately shouted, watch your back, there are two of them. At that moment, Zhang Dahu felt like this battle was going unusually smoothly. Was it because Seo Jun was here? Every time I was attacked, he would help me escape, just like a seasoned veteran. He makes you feel completely safe trusting him with your back. It's reassuring. The deeper we went, the more luminous moss we saw. If I'm not mistaken, the final boss should be somewhere around here. We finally found Shu Wanshou in the deepest part of the dungeon. Zhang Dahu immediately ran over, overjoyed. Suddenly, there was a huge movement at his feet. Two giant pincers clamped down firmly on his left leg. The boss burst out of the ground and yanked him up, leaving him hanging upside down. I was terrified. Luckily, Dahu was quick-witted. The moment the boss grabbed him, he activated his magic, condensing it around his body. I immediately grabbed my spear and charged the boss, but its body was too tough. I have to use the knowledge from my past life to figure out its weak point. That's it. Its antennae and eyes. I immediately leapt forward. I infused magic into my spear, and with a crack, I chopped off its antennae and slashed its eyes. Zhang Dahu fell to the ground with a thud. Seeing that the injured boss was trying to burrow into the ground to escape, Zhang Dahu grabbed onto it with all his might. Using all the strength in his waist and legs, he forcefully pulled it out of the ground, inch by inch. With a great roar, he unleashed all his magic, and with a feat of strength like uprooting a willow tree, he actually ripped it clean out with a loud rumble. And he got a good look at it. Good heavens. The boss's lower body had no shell. Seizing the opportunity, I immediately raised my spear. I leapt high into the air and, with a stylish landing, perfectly sliced its tail off, cutting it in two. Congratulations, the special mission has been completed. You have received the reward for the first dungeon clear. After leaving the instance, I finally received my qualification certificate. Although the process was full of twists and turns, the result was gratifying. Just then, my magic lamp lit up, but no dimensional rift appeared. Yunhai's bag also flew up into the air. That's magic. A lollipop. Turns out, it was Soul who used magic. And this time, she did it unconsciously again. Could her magic have gotten so powerful that she can't control it anymore? If this keeps up, innocent people will get hurt, and Soul herself could be injured too. Cher's magic had erupted like this in her past life, but I never expected it to happen so much earlier this time around. Cher's magic became so sensitive because the magical energy in the environment has grown weaker. So, all we have to do is take her to a place filled with magical energy. There are only two places full of magical energy. One is a dungeon, and the other is a territory. But she's only a 5-year-old child right now. How can we take her to such dangerous places? Besides, the territories are all owned by associations or guilds. And we don't. You too, Go Hee Yin. Then I immediately took out my phone to make a call. The next time we met, we brought Cher to the entrance of the Goryo Sword Pavilion. Go Hee Yin came out to greet us warmly. But when we turned and saw the endless flight of stairs, Eunhai and I instantly wanted to just go home. After climbing the 3,000-meter staircase, Eunhai and I were completely wiped out. Only Cher, who had been carried up, was still full of energy. I watched Go Hee Yin taking pictures of Cher and asked, I heard you have a special domain here set up for training guild members. A domain is the third type of dimensional rift, a permanent fissure. Monsters appear in it periodically, and it never disappears. The second type is an erosive fissure, which takes over buildings to create dungeons. The first type is a single instance fissure, which spits out monsters and then disappears. After listening, Go Hee Yeon said she'd arrange it for us immediately. Consider it me repaying you for introducing me to Gang Chul. Inside the domain, Shaer was using her magic to play with a doll. Playing a game of house, which left Go Hee Yeon completely dumbfounded. Eun-hye and I had to pull her aside to explain everything, begging her not to reveal this secret. Go Hee Yeon readily agreed. At the same time, Shaer sensed a surge of magic from inside the domain. I'm so happy. It's so comfortable here. I really love it. Hearing her say that put us at ease. Suddenly, an alarm blared. Everyone immediately started running for the exit. That's the kind of alarm that only sounds when a fissure appears. Just then, the mountain started to shake and a landslide occurred, blocking the exit. The territory boss appeared. The three of us tensed up in an instant. Sudden quest initiated. Territory boss of the rocky area. Please eliminate the golem. I immediately snapped out of it. Eun-hye, take Shaer and get far away from here. You're the fastest runner. I could have sworn I checked the boss's spawn cycle before we came in. Besides, a territory boss doesn't usually show up alone. Could it have been drawn here by Shui's magical power? Before I could figure it out, the golem attacked. Skill. Earthshaker. It slammed the ground, kicking up countless stones and clouds of dust. I dodged nimbly. Thinking about the golem's ability to transfer its wounds to the surrounding stones was giving me a headache. A direct assault won't work. I have to outsmart it. The key is to find its core and deliver a fatal blow. Mountain Golem's core is on top of its head or somewhere around its neck. Just then, Go Hee Yeon gave me a hand signal. I nodded to show I got it, then Gang Chuled myself and found the right spot. We attacked its core at the same time. Just as I was about to lunge, it began to sway. The golem had started to move. It was moving in Eun-hye's direction. Was it her magical power that was attracting it? I couldn't wait any longer. I raised my long spear and plunged it straight into the golem's head. But judging by how it shattered, its core wasn't in there. At the same time, Go Hee Yeon began to gather her power and fiercely drew her sword. Skill. 1 slash, 2 cuts. A golden beam of sword energy shot into the sky. The mountain golem instantly disintegrated. With her attack successful, Go Hee Yeon smiled happily. Just when I thought we'd dealt with it, I suddenly bolted, and Go Hee Yeon ran with me. "Seo Jun, what are you doing?" she shouted, and I yelled back. It's not dead. It's still moving. The golem's core isn't in its head or neck. It must be hidden somewhere else. Until we find the core, it'll just keep counter-attacking and regenerating. With a violent shake, Go Hee Yeon and I fell right into the golem's palm. Is this thing going to crush us in its palm? Just when we thought we were done for, a giant ice teddy bear blocked the fatal blow for us. Setting Shaer down in a hidden spot. Shaer, you be a good girl and wait right here. I'm going to help Daddy and Big Sister fight the monster. But, Shaer wants to help, too. After saying that, she walked forward. Little shards of ice were left on the path where she walked. She closed her eyes, as if meditating on something. Magic surged in her hands. Then, she snapped her eyes open. Wisps of magical energy flashed in her eyes, stirring up an icy mist. When the icy mist cleared, Shaer had collapsed on the ground. Eun-hye immediately rushed to pick her up and check on her. Thank goodness, she was only asleep. But standing before them was a giant ice bear. At that moment, the ice bear was fighting the golem. This is creation magic. The only person here who could master such high-level magic. Could it be Shaer? Suddenly, the ice bear playfully winked at me and gave me a thumbs up. That confirmed my suspicion, but the coolness didn't last more than 3 seconds. It took a punch to the face from the mountain golem and was sent flying several meters. With a thud, it crashed against the rocks. You've got to be kidding me. Is it really that useless? Does it have no fighting ability aside from being big? Then, the mountain golem attacked again. Just as its blow was about to land. Clang! It was blocked by a magic wand. I don't know when, but it had somehow conjured a weapon. With a weapon in hand, the ice bear began to fight back. The tables started to turn. The mountain golem could only take a beating. The ice bear focused its magic and took a closer look. The golem's core was in its heart. It lunged forward, aiming right for it. It instantly knocked the core right out, leaving me and Go Hee Yeon completely stunned. Just then, a notification sounded. The territory boss of the rocky area. The mountain golem has been defeated. Sudden quest complete. Back at home, I pleaded with Go Hee Yeon again and again to keep this a secret. She readily agreed. As for Shaer, she was still fast asleep after creating the ice bear. To think that Shaer used her magic to create the ice bear, not summon it. Summoning uses magic as a price to call forth a creature, but creation uses magic to bring a whole new species into existence. Summoning and creating are on completely different levels. As expected of my daughter, Shaer is incredible. Just then, Shaer woke up. I asked her, "You remember that giant bear you made?" "I remember, Daddy. I really wanted to teach that bad monster a lesson," so Teddy came out. Suddenly, the doorbell rang, and the phone in my pocket started ringing too. Could it be an emergency? I answered the phone. "Sheehan, it sounds like you have guests over. I'll call you back in a bit." Wait, Seo Jun, the person outside your door. It must be a magician from the magic tower. When we attacked the mountain golem today, we released a massive amount of magical energy that was picked up by their radar. So he came to the territory today with a list and is investigating everywhere. Hearing this, I broke out in a cold sweat. Hey, Seo Jun, are you listening? My head was buzzing. I was helpless in my past life when Soul was taken away. The scene kept replaying in my mind, mixed with the sound of Soul's constant cries. Suddenly, a voice rang out. Main quest updated. Lee Soul's first misfortune has begun. Change the future. Prevent Lee Soul's 5 misfortunes. Protect her from William Taylor. I looked over at Soul. I immediately crouched down and said to her, Soul, you need to help Daddy, okay? There's a strange man outside. You absolutely must hide your magic. Don't let him discover it. Can you do that? She nodded obediently. I quickly taught her how to control her magic. Just then, I let the magician, William Taylor, in. Although I was incredibly nervous, I had to act calm on the surface. I never thought he would be the one investigating. In my past life, William Taylor was the division head for Countrywise Magic Tower. I bet his position isn't low now, either. Just then, another member of the investigation team reported in. Nothing unusual to report. Hearing that, I subtly pulled Soul closer to me. The investigation reports for our family of 3 were laid out on the table. Suddenly, Taylor pulled out a photo. It was a picture of the unmelted fragments left behind after the ice bear took down the mountain golem. I couldn't believe they'd even managed to photograph that. I had no choice but to remain calm and say, I'd really like to help with your investigation, but there's nothing in this picture. Taylor's eyes narrowed as he carefully sized up the family of 3. While both adults possess strong magical energy, it's not at a level where they could actually cast magic. Having found no useful information, he could only chuckle and say, Well, thank you for your cooperation. Then he took his men and left. I thought the matter was over and done with, but when I opened my quest interface, I froze. It was still marked incomplete. Looks like Taylor won't give up so easily. I have to get stronger. Otherwise, I won't even be able to lift a finger against him. I have to act on what I know. There's someone I must find. Few days later, at the entrance to the shelter, stood a beautiful, long-legged woman with silver hair. She walked with a cool confidence, and her gear made the passers-by stare in envy. They were drooling buckets. She quickly entered the shelter. Inside, there was nothing but ruined concrete everywhere. Strange. Why aren't there any monsters? Did someone clear them out already? Even though she had brought a full set of defensive gear and firearms, she couldn't shake a growing sense of unease. It was eerily quiet. Suddenly, a whooshing sound from behind made her jump. She turned around and saw a hunter. Excuse me. Before she could finish, a sharp blade plunged straight into her abdomen. Enduring the searing pain, she clutched her bleeding abdomen and dropped to a crouch, raising her weapon with trembling hands. Why did you attack me? I don't care who sent you. But when I get out of here, you will pay. That's assuming you get out of here alive. With that, the two raised their daggers and charged. At that moment, I burst out from the side. I took out one of the men in black with a flying kick to the side. The man in black rolled his eyes back and dropped to the ground. What the? No way. So pathetic. Seeing this, his partner next to him immediately reacted. I suggest you stay out of this. I completely ignored him and just aimed my gun. I created a distraction, then landed a quick chop to the back of his neck. He passed out instantly, which left me with zero sense of accomplishment. It was like I did something, but at the same time, it felt like I did nothing at all. Just then, the silver-haired woman spoke up. Who are you? What's your motive? I just said calmly, just a hunter passing by. Turns out, she was Hai Lan, the daughter of the chairman of the H Group. The H Group is the most famous weapons manufacturer out there right now, producing everything from hunter weapons to defensive gear and consumables. They're a true corporate giant, in every sense of the word. Hai Lan sighed as she looked through my file. I thought this was going to be one of those, hero saves the damsel, situations where I'd pledge myself to you, but it turns out you're a married man with kids. I do have a kid, but I'm not married. But there's already a woman I like. I see. So you're decent, then. You draw a clear line. Not a total player. Well, since you saved me, let me give you a gift as thanks. I immediately waved my hands, refusing. I didn't want our connection to end just because of some money. She smirked. How interesting. In that case, I'll give you 2 gifts. I took them and looked. To my surprise, it was a data collection on an uncleared dungeon, the Tiger's Den. I was originally planning on discovering a new monster there to get first dibs on the materials. But then there was an accident. The entire 5-person recon team was wiped out. This photo was screen captured from a video by one of the hunters at the time. And this is the very last frame. White fur. I see. So I just need to get my hands on that monster's materials, right? Is there a time limit? Wait, are you planning to go alone? That's a dungeon where an entire team couldn't make it out alive. Dungeon, yes. You just want to use this request to test me, don't you? Fine. I'll take this chance to show you what I'm really made of.